Neutron beams. There's your answer. It must have been renewing its molecular structure.
In 1977, George Lucas released a film that nobody at 20th Century Fox believed in. The cast thought it would flop. His own friend Brian De Palma called the early cut gibberish. Then it opened on just 32 screens across America and detonated. Within 3 weeks, Fox's stock price doubled. By the end of the year, Star Wars became the highest-grossing film of all time. George Lucas didn't just make a movie. He built a financial empire that reshaped Hollywood's entire DNA. And that's the problem, because when Star Wars became the model for everything, studios stopped taking risks. They chased the formula: lightsabers over substance, spectacle over story. And some of the most ambitious, most daring, most visually stunning space films ever made got buried alive. Not because they were bad, but because they weren't Star Wars. These are the 10 lost space sci-fi movies that humiliated Star Wars. And number 1 didn't just compete with it, it made Star Wars look like a children's painting book. Number 10, Dark Star, 1974.
Unstable planet. 85% probability of an unstable.
3 years before George Lucas showed the world a galaxy far, far away, 2 film students at the University of Southern California were already making fun of it. John Carpenter and Dan O'Bannon started Dark Star as a 45-minute student project in 1970 with a budget of just $6,000. That's not a typo. They built spaceship sets out of scrap materials. The spacesuits were made from repurposed frying pans, vacuum cleaner nozzles, and silver sticky tape. The alien creature terrorizing the crew was literally a spray-painted beach ball with claws. And somehow, against every possible odd, it worked. And here's the thing. The film's most iconic visual trick, the stars turning into streaks of light as the ship jumps into hyperspace, was the first depiction of that effect in cinema history. Behind the scenes, Carpenter directed and scored the entire film himself, while O'Bannon co-wrote it, edited it, designed the special effects, and starred in it as Sergeant Pinback. The movie played like a stoner comedy fused with existential philosophy. The climax features an astronaut literally arguing epistemology with a sentient bomb to convince it not to detonate. When Carpenter and O'Bannon ran out of money during production, Jonathan Kaplan gave them $10,000 in additional financial support, allowing them to shoot an extra 50 minutes in 1973. Those scenes included the infamous beach ball alien, which became the film's most talked about element. Number 9. Forbidden Planet, 1956.
Very much. You may be disappointed, Commander. Suppose we...
Forbidden Planet cost $1.9 million in 1956, which was an unheard-of sum for a genre that Hollywood treated as disposable B-movie material. Most sci-fi pictures at the time were shot in a few weeks with unknown actors and budgets that barely covered the rubber monster costumes. MGM broke every one of those rules. They cast Walter Pidgeon, a 2-time Academy Award nominee, alongside Leslie Nielsen in one of his earliest serious roles. They filmed in CinemaScope and Eastman color. They also spent $125,000 on a single prop called Robbie the Robot. The result was a film that invented the modern space opera. And here's an interesting fact. Forbidden Planet was the first sci-fi movie to show humans traveling in a faster-than-light starship they actually built themselves. It was the first set entirely on a planet orbiting another star. It featured the first entirely electronic musical score in cinema history. In fact, the Academy nominated the film for Best Special Effects, and Disney animator Joshua Metter was personally loaned to MGM to create the invisible id monster sequence. But the real legacy is what it gave to everything that came after. Gene Roddenberry openly admitted Forbidden Planet directly inspired Star Trek. The concept of a space navy dispatched by a unified interplanetary federation to explore distant worlds was born right here. And then there's Robbie, the multilingual, personality-driven robot who tells human visitors he speaks 187 languages and dialects. When Forbidden Planet opened, it earned roughly $3.3 million worldwide. Number 8. Enemy Mine, 1985.
Sure you won't come with me? Huh?
Every major actor in Hollywood turned this role down, not because the script was bad, but because the part required you to disappear completely. No face, no eyes, no recognizable features. Just layers of reptilian prosthetics and the challenge of delivering an emotionally devastating performance through all of it. Then, Louis Gossett Jr. said yes. The man had already won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He He didn't need to prove anything, but he later explained there was a little Lon Chaney Sr. in him, and he wanted the challenge. And that decision nearly destroyed him physically. Behind the scenes, the alien costume was glued directly to his skin and caused severe abrasion and rashes. He wore 2 sets of contact lenses, one for the lizard look and one for eye protection, but the protection failed. After 4 weeks of shooting, Gossett couldn't open his eyes. They were completely bloodshot. Doctors estimated it would take up to 2 years for his eyes to fully heal. He later admitted that barely a day went by during filming where he didn't think about walking away entirely. The production itself was a disaster from the start. During test screenings, one executive said the footage looked like the planet Earth when it was supposed to look alien. And here's the thing, Fox had already spent $9 million and had pay-or-play contracts locking in another $18 million. They needed a new director fast. Wolfgang Peterson, fresh off Das Boot and The Never-Ending Story, initially refused. He told Fox he wasn't the kind of director who could jump on a plane and finish someone else's work. He also said he wasn't a fan of Star Wars-type science fiction. But when he read the script, he changed his mind completely. Peterson scrapped everything Lon Crane had shot, moved the entire production to Munich, and started from scratch. The makeup effects team was in chaos too. Designer James Cummins was fired, then rehired. Even Steven Spielberg was reportedly brought in to contribute creature design concepts. Industrial Light and Magic had to rush their visual effects work, and when the film finally opened on December 20th, 1985, it earned just $12.3 million at the box office. Number 7. The Black Hole, 1979. Here's what most people don't know. Disney had the chance to make Star Wars, but they passed. George Lucas shopped his space opera to every major studio in Hollywood, and Disney said no. Then Star Wars became the highest-grossing film of all time, and Disney was left watching from the sidelines as 20th Century Fox's stock price doubled in 3 weeks. So Disney did what any desperate studio would do. They decided to build their own Star Wars. They called it The Black Hole, and it's the most expensive film Walt Disney Productions had ever made. The production budget was $20 million. Disney stacked the cast with serious talent: Maximilian Schell, Anthony Perkins, Ernest Borgnine, Robert Forster, Yvette Mimieux. They hired James Bond composer John Barry to score it. They commissioned Alan Dean Foster to write the film's tie-in book. And the Mego Corporation manufactured 6 million action figures in anticipation of a merchandising empire that would rival Kenner's Star Wars goldmine. Behind the scenes, the production was a marathon. Filming ran from October 1978 through April 1979. At first, Disney wanted to rent visual effects equipment from Industrial Light and Magic, but it was either unavailable or too expensive. So the studio's own engineering department invented a brand new computerized camera system called ACES, the Automated Camera Effects System, which allowed actors to move freely within non-existent sets that would be painted in later. Over 150 matte paintings were created under the supervision of Harrison Ellenshaw, though only 13 made it into the final cut. On paper, this is the next massive global hit. But then comes the ending. Disney, the studio built on fairy tales and family entertainment, delivered a finale that appeared to depict a literal journey through hell and heaven. The villain Maximilian Reinhardt is fused with his own killer robot inside what looks like a fiery underworld, while the heroes emerge into a cathedral of light. Children who walked into theaters expecting another wholesome Disney adventure walked out disturbed. The Black Hole opened to a record Disney weekend of $4.7 million from 889 theaters and eventually grossed $35.8 million domestically. Not a disaster, but against that $26 million combined spend, it was nowhere near the return Disney needed. Number 6. Silent Running, 1972. Here's the thing. The robots that inspired R2-D2 were played by real people with no legs. That's not a metaphor. In 1971, Douglas Trumbull needed to bring 3 small drone robots to life for his directorial debut called Silent Running. He didn't have the budget for animatronics or stop motion. So after watching the 1932 Todd Browning film Freaks, Trumbull cast bilateral amputees as the drone operators. These actors walked on their arms inside lightweight, vacuum-formed plastic shells, breathing through the slotted fronts of the costumes. Their names were Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and they became some of the most beloved characters in science fiction history. And here's the interesting part. The entire production of Silent Running was shot in 32 days on a budget of just $1 million. The spaceship interiors were filmed inside a decommissioned Korean War aircraft carrier, the USS Valley Forge, which was docked at the Long Beach Naval Shipyard and scrapped shortly after filming wrap. The forest scenes were shot in an aircraft hangar in Van Nuys, California, because the original plan to film at the Mitchell Park Domes in Milwaukee was too expensive. Trumbull's father, Don Trumbull, helped develop the drone costumes and later went on to work on miniatures for Star Wars. John Dykstra, who handled special photo effects on Silent Running, became the visual effects supervisor on Star Wars. The 25-foot model of the Valley Forge spaceship took 6 months to build from approximately 800 prefabricated model kits. When Silent Running opened, it grossed $4 million domestically. Number 5. Sunshine, 2007. Danny Boyle made a film about the end of the world, filled it with the most talented ensemble cast in 21st century science fiction history, and watched it open on fewer than 500 screens in America, the same weekend as The Simpsons movie. The budget was set at $40 million. At first, Fox's parent studio declined to bid on the project after they had seen disastrous box office returns from their previous adult science fiction release, Solaris. Eventually, DNA Films financed it, and the result was a total financial disaster. During production, Boyle shot almost everything at 3 Mills Studios in London, building the interior of the spacecraft Icarus II as a single, enormous practical set. The cast assembled for this film is almost absurd in retrospect. Cillian Murphy plays a nuclear physicist. Murphy toured the CERN facility and spent time studying physicists' mannerisms to prepare for the role. Michelle Yeoh starred as the ship's biologist. Chris Evans and Benedict Wong are in supporting roles. Hiroyuki Sanada plays the ship's captain. Behind the scenes, the production team consulted physicist Brian Cox as its scientific advisor. Boyle refused to let any visual effects house other than London's Moving Picture Company work on the film, which delayed the release by nearly a year. In the scene where Murphy's character dreams of falling into the sun, the actor was placed in a gantry while 20 assistants rotated an assembly of bright lights around him. The golden spacesuits seen throughout the film were designed to feel weighted and real, not heroic. Sunshine opened on just 451 screens and finished 13th at the box office with $1.2 million. Its final domestic gross was $3.6 million. Worldwide, it scraped together roughly $32 million. Number 4. John Carter, 2012. Before Star Wars, before Avatar, before every sprawling space opera that conquered the 20th century, there was one story. A Civil War soldier transported to Mars, fighting alien warlords, falling in love with a princess, discovering powers beyond imagination. That story was written in 1911 by Edgar Rice Burroughs. George Lucas has acknowledged that Burroughs' work was a formative influence on Star Wars. James Cameron told The New Yorker that Avatar was his version of the same story. And then Disney spent over $260 million making the original, and somehow still managed to bury it. During production, director Andrew Stanton treated the live-action film like any Pixar production, scrapping previously filmed footage and reshooting and reworking the movie until the gross budget ballooned to over $306 million. Back in 1990, Disney had previously been developing the material, with Tom Cruise as Carter and Julia Roberts as the Princess of Mars. That version collapsed when McTiernan chose Last Action Hero instead. And here's the interesting part. The film's title was originally John Carter of Mars, then got changed to John Carter after Disney conducted a study noting that recent films with the word Mars in the title had not performed commercially. The result was a title that told audiences absolutely nothing. In fact, a former studio marketing chief described the campaign as one of the worst in the history of movies, saying it was as if the studio had gone out of their way to not make audiences care. John Carter opened to $30 million domestically against a break-even requirement of over $600 million worldwide. Number 3. Blade Runner 2049, 2017. Roger Deakins had been nominated for an Academy Award 13 times. He never won. 13 nominations across 3 decades of work that redefined what cinematography could do. Then Denis Villeneuve handed him Blade Runner 2049, and that losing streak finally ended. Deakins won his first Oscar, and many cinematographers believe it was the most beautiful science fiction film ever photographed. In 2011, Alcon Entertainment acquired the sequel rights to Blade Runner for an initial payment of $1 million and an additional $10 million once the film received an official green light. Alcon co-financed the production equally with Sony, with each company investing $90 million. The net budget settled at approximately $150 million. Behind the scenes, Deakins exercised full artistic control over the shoot. When a studio line producer requested a 9-camera unit setup, Deakins rejected it outright because he believed it would produce sloppy camera work. Instead, he shot the entire film on a single Arri Alexa XT studio camera with Zeiss Master Prime lenses. He and Villeneuve tested an Alexa 65 but preferred the slightly grainy image quality of the XT Studio. They drew visual inspiration from Beijing's smog-choked cityscape, Saharan dust storms, Bangladeshi shipyards, and London's brutalist landmarks like the Barbican Estate. An early cut of the film ran 4 hours long. Then comes the incredible cast. Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling were the first significant casting choices, with Ford having expressed interest in reprising his role in past interviews and being enthusiastic about the script. Ana de Armas, Sylvia Hooks, Robin Wright, Mackenzie Davis, Dave Bautista, and Jared Leto filled out the rest. Alcon invested a reported $130 million or more on a global marketing campaign, sending the cast on promotional tours across Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Blade Runner opened to $32.7 million domestically. Internationally, it earned $167 million, making the worldwide total $259 million. Number 2. Dune, 1984. David Lynch turned down the chance to direct Return of the Jedi. In fact, George Lucas personally offered him Star Wars. Lynch said no, he chose Dune instead, and that decision haunted him for the rest of his career. Before production, the script was screaming, "Next big hit." What followed instead was 6 months of work on drafts with a writer who then departed over creative differences, leaving Lynch to write 5 additional versions of the script alone before cameras rolled. The truth is, Dune had everything. The cast assembled was remarkable. Kyle MacLachlan in his film debut, Patrick Stewart, Sting, Max von Sydow, Dean Stockwell, Virginia Madsen. Patrick Stewart was awarded the role of Gurney Halleck by mistake, as Lynch believed he was hiring a different actor named Patrick Stewart in a rush to replace someone at the last minute. Stewart reportedly did not initially realize Sting was a famous musician, asking him if he was a solo artist or part of a group, and accepting the answer, "The Police," at face value. Then comes the problem. During productions, Lynch shared his Mexico filming location and crew with another De Laurentiis production, so the producer could save costs. When the rough cut arrived, it ran over 4 hours. Universal and the financiers demanded a standard 2-hour release. Entire storylines were excised. Voice-over narration was plastered across scenes that Lynch had specifically constructed to work in silence. In fact, many theaters handed out printed plot summaries to audience members because the film was nearly incomprehensible to viewers who had not read the novel. When the film was later edited for television and Lynch refused to have his name associated with the version, the director was credited as Alan Smithee and the screenplay credited to Judas Booth. When Dune opened, it grossed $30.9 million against a $40 million budget. Lynch has called it the only genuine failure of his career. He has never made another science fiction film since. Number 1. 2001. A Space Odyssey, 1968. 9 years before Star Wars existed, Stanley Kubrick already made it irrelevant. 2001. A Space Odyssey was released on April 2, 1968. It cost $10.5 million to produce at a time when the average Hollywood film cost around $2 million. MGM funded it expecting a commercial space adventure. What they got instead was a 142-minute meditation on human evolution, artificial intelligence, and the terrifying silence of the cosmos. And here's the thing. Kubrick spent 4 years making this film. He collaborated with science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke, and together they developed the screenplay and the novel simultaneously, with each informing the other. A NASA space scientist named Frederick Ordway served as scientific advisor, traveling from the United States to England with dozens of trunks full of technical data. He coordinated the construction of everything from the spacepod designs to the characters' flight suits. HAL 9000 was originally intended to have a female voice. then was cast with Nigel Davenport, then recast with Martin Balsam, and finally recast again with Douglas Rain, whose entire performance was recorded in post-production. Behind the scenes, Kubrick ordered the original commissioned orchestral score by Alex North discarded entirely just before release, replacing it with pre-existing classical music because the temporary soundtrack he had been using worked better than anything North had written. The Discovery 1 spacecraft was designed with rotating centrifuges to simulate artificial gravity. The visual effects were created entirely in camera using techniques Kubrick and his team invented from scratch, including front projection for the Dawn of Man sequence and a massive centrifuge set that cost $750,000 to build. The Stargate sequence alone took 18 months to produce. Kubrick demanded total control. He personally supervised every frame. When Space Odyssey premiered, it grossed over $146 million worldwide against that $10.5 million budget. It won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. Now we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments, which of these films deserved a bigger audience? And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful facts like this. See you in the next video.